the piece of advice I've offered to people a lot of times is just avoid comparison. Focus on what you're doing and where you're going. It's good advice, one that I personally believe in. But somewhere last year, I found myself in a situation where I just couldn't follow it. Like I knew the advice, but I simply couldn't use it. Sure, it's pointless to compare yourself to others because, as we all know, no two individuals are exactly alike, not even identical twins. Right? We may be on the same track, but we are running different races. The finish lines are different, so are the rewards at the end. Right? I knew all these stuff, but it did very little in pulling me out of the comparison rut I was in. Because my problem wasn't, am I doing well in my race? My problem was, am I even in the right race? That was a question I was asking myself. And I think that's where a lot of unspoken pain actually lives. You know, having to face what that question would reveal. Last year, I was doing a lot. Some of it expected, some of it self driven. And around that time, I was talking to a friend of mine who was building an app, learning tech stacks I'd never even heard of, working with a team, making real progress. And we were in the same department, computer science. So there was this kind of unspoken expectation, right? Like everyone should be coding, everyone should be solving a problem, building something programmable, staying up late, debugging and whatnot. You know, the typical things expected of a CS student. And me, honestly, I had very little interest in any of that. I was losing sleep over, building a personal brand online, learning social media management, digital marketing, reading, designing, making videos. That was what I was invested in. And I couldn't shake this feeling of, is this a waste of time? Right? That's where comparison got complicated for me. Because telling myself, don't compare, focus on your lane, it barely did anything. And I think I know why now. That it's because I wasn't sure that lane I was in led anywhere worth going. Right? Unlike my friend's path, which you could kind of see what the end result would be. Follow this route, build these skills, and you have a job offer, you have an internship, you have a scholarship, something, right? There are people that have walked that path and gotten those rewards, so there's that kind of proof to back it up. But mine was one that I couldn't really predict, right? I couldn't point to a clear outcome and say, that's what I'm working towards. And that scared me more than I was willing to admit at the time. So I say certainty is unattainable, and technically it is, but some paths feel more predictable than others. And when you're standing at the edge of one that doesn't, stay your lane or stay in your lane is cold comfort. It really is. The fear wasn't irrational. The reward could be small, it could be nothing. And that had me asking if that was a risk I was willing to take. Right now, I could have switched tracks, down what my friend was doing. But I wasn't interested in it. And doing something you're not interested in just to feel like you're on the right path doesn't feel good, right? So I landed on two things that actually helped me. The first was I acknowledged that what I was doing mattered, right? Not to anyone else necessarily, but to me. And that had to be enough to start. And the second was I made the finish line the reward, right? What I mean by that is that for a very long time, my goal has just been to be better and to do better. And as long as the things I'm exploring give me space to grow deeper and, keep on becoming that person, I'm going to keep going. And what's interesting about that shift is that when the finish line is also the reward, then certainty doesn't feel so out of reach anymore. Because as long as I keep running, I'll get to the finish line. That's a given. I'll get there. Right? Whatever medal or flowers are waiting or aren't waiting, those become secondary, simple add-ons. So I guess what I'm really saying is this: avoid comparison is easy advice to give, but the harder work is actually, listening to what the comparison is telling you. Right? Is it asking, "Am I doing well enough?" or is it asking, "Am I even in the right race?" Right? Because those are two very different questions, and they need two very different answers. right? Yeah, so that's that. And as I like to do, the question I want to leave with you today is, what's something you're interested in that most people around you don't really get? And what would you say is driving you to maintain that interest? Right? Hopefully that helps you reflect on today's topic. I look forward to any comments you may have. If you like this episode, share it with someone you think might enjoy it. Thank you for listening, and I will catch you in another one.